Yo, what's up, sports bettors? I got 5 picks to turn 250 into 2.5K, 5 sharp bets on PrizePicks. So in this video, we're going to go through all of my plays. So we'll start out on the OddsJam screen. So what this tool does is currently we're looking at NBA player points, but I mean, you can look at any market you want, any sport, whatever. Millions of odds updating in real time. And I've explained this before, but the way I use the screen, especially when I'm looking for player prop bets on PrizePicks, is I look for differences in where sportsbooks are setting the line, right? So what I mean by that is you see for Jalen Brunson, PrizePicks underdog, they both have his line at 23.5. All the sportsbooks also have his player points line at 23.5. There's no discrepancies in the market, right? There's really no value. All books have his line at 23.5 points. There's no major differences in the odds. They're all around like minus 120 on his over. There's no value. You don't want to touch this play, right? As a sharp better on PrizePicks, you're looking for those few rare spots where PrizePicks is slipping up and offering value. So one player prop you may want to go with, I actually think this is a pretty good one to go with, is Julius Randle points. Right, so what you're going to notice is PrizePicks has Julius Randle at 21 points. Underdog Fantasy, another fantasy site, works almost exactly like PrizePicks. They have Julius Randle's line at 21.5. Right, so PrizePicks 21, Underdog at 21.5. All the sports books also have Julius Randle's line at 21.5 points. You're going to see some sports books like Fliff, like BetMGM, they even have Randle's over 21.5 points favored. So long story short, here, PrizePicks is below the market, right? All the books, Underdog Fantasy, are at 21.5 for Julius Randle points. PrizePicks is at 21, so we want to take Randle over, right? You would want to take Randle over 21 points on PrizePicks. PrizePicks is too low relative to the market. So this is one of the first tools that I use often, to find profitable bets on PrizePicks. And then the second tool I use, which we'll kind of get into now, is right here, and it's called the fantasy screen. Right, so essentially the way that PrizePicks works, it's a pretty interesting platform, but the way that PrizePicks works is any 5 picks you select, so if I just select 5 random picks, doesn't matter if I take overs, unders, whatever, you're always getting the same payout. You go 5 for 5, you get a 10x, you go 4 for 5, you get a 2x, 3 for 5, you get a 0.4x. Doesn't matter if you take overs, unders, whatever, like you can switch around your picks. If we switch this to a different pick, we're still getting that same payout. Right, so I've broken down how the math behind flex plays work, and essentially all it boils down to is you need to be able to select your over-unders correctly. So here we can see an over-under for the Athletics-Cardinals game. All you need to do to beat PrizePicks is select your over-unders correctly at a rate of 54.25%. Right, so what this means is, just as an example, let's say you can win 55% of your player props on PrizePicks. So let's say you're able to hit 55% of your over-unders, you're winning 55% of your picks, like 55% of your over-unders you're hitting. Your ROI on PrizePicks is going to be positive, 5%, right? So, and if you're hitting player props 53% of the time, so if you can select your over-unders on PrizePicks only 53% of the time correctly, your ROI is going to be negative, right? You're lower than that 54.25% break-even win rate. So all you're trying to find is player props that are hitting over 54.25% of the time. And that's exactly what the fantasy screen shows you. Right, so you can see the first play on the fantasy screen, so just screen, fantasy screen. You can use this for Underdog, No House Advantage. I mean, tons of different platforms, all these different fantasy sites. But essentially, what you're going to notice is, just as an example, Matthew Tukachuk, over 3.5 shots on goal. All the sports books have his over 3.5 shots on goal heavily favored, right? You can also see this on the positive EV tool. So, sometimes you'll see profitable bets on PrizePicks. They'll be on the positive EV tool as well as the fantasy screen. So there's a little bit of overlap. But what you're going to notice is for this Matthew Tukachuk guy, all the books, you don't have to know anything about this guy. Just follow the data, right? Data never lies. You have dozens of data points, dozens of sportsbooks posting odds. They're all telling you the same thing. Matthew Tukachuk, he's a lot more likely to go over 3.5 shots on goal as opposed to under. His over is heavily favored on the sportsbooks, right? So we're using sportsbook odds the sharper, more efficient betting markets to find these rare few betting opportunities on PrizePicks where books have an over or an under really heavily favored. But in this case, it's an over. It's his over 3.5 shots on goal. All the sports books have his over heavily favored. Some sports books a bit more, like DraftKings minus 155 has his over favored a bit more than FanDuel. But every single book is telling you the same thing. He's a lot more likely to go over as opposed to under. So because PrizePicks, right, they're not changing your payouts based on you selecting over or under, it doesn't matter at all. That's exactly what you want to find, right? You want to find spots where sports books have one side heavily favored. And in this case, it's his over 3.5 shots on goal. All of the books have his over 3.5 shots on goal as the heavily favored outcome. So that's a great player prop to include in your entry. And you're going to see this on the fantasy screen as well. Right? So the fantasy screen quantifies, hey, based on the sportsbook odds, based on the fact that sportsbooks all, let's open this up again, based on the fact that all the sportsbooks have his over around, let's say minus 145 on average, this player prop is 55.02% to win. That's higher than 54.25%, so it's profitable in your PrizePicks entry. Sam Hilliard, all the books have his under half of the base, so him to, literally not get on base. Here's an MLB player prop. So I say this in a lot of the videos, but, I just follow the value. I don't really care if I have NBA player props, MLB bets, tennis bets, I don't care at all. I don't care if my bets are on PrizePicks, Underdog Fantasy, No House Advantage, any of these different fantasy sites, Fliff, right? I'll get it, I'll place as many profitable bets as I can. And sometimes there's more value on PrizePicks, sometimes there's more value on Underdog, sometimes there's more value on Fliff. Sometimes there's more value in the NHL, sometimes there's more value in baseball. I'm just following the value, right? Following the line movements, following, the data. So for Hilliard, we're taking his under for no other reason than every sportsbook, right? Sportsbook odds, sportsbooks are smarter than you. These are billion-dollar companies. They've invested hundreds of millions of dollars in their ability to set lines, and every book is telling you the same thing. Matthew Tkachuk, he's a lot more likely to go over as opposed to under, right? So this is a profitable bet you want to go with on PrizePicks. It's just the bet in bold. So right here. So don't try to outsmart the data, right? The data never lies. Don't trust your gut. That's what 99% of sports bettors do, and that's why they all lose money. So my plays are Luke Kennard under 7 points, Nathan McKinnon under 5.5 shots on goal, Tkachuk over 3.5 shots on goal right here from the fantasy screen, Sam Hilliard under half of a base also from the fantasy screen, right? And then you can see this play on Tkachuk is also on the positive EV tool, as well as this Nerfy in the Marlins-Braves game. So 5 picks to turn 250 into 2.5K. Sharp sports betting on PrizePicks, just looking through the tens of thousands of lines on PrizePicks, trying to find those rare few betting opportunities that actually have an edge. So hopefully this video was helpful. I try to really explain how PrizePicks works, how to beat PrizePicks long term. Let's make some money.